So in lieu of actually finishing up any projects at all for 2 months because of work related things, I thought I might go through a project planning kind of thing to not only get a lot of my thoughts together on the more complicated projects that I have in mind that I would like to construct, but as well as just little things that'll make me happy that I absolutely don't need in my life but want anyway. So I think that's what this video is going to be about. It's just going to be about plotting out and planning out everything that I would like to ideally do, either like in the very near future or the very long-term future. And I'll be doing this in a planner, I think, of some sort, or a notebook, just so that it's something that I could add to very easily. I do have a whiteboard right there, and I typically ignore that most days. I don't even look at it. Half of that's not even in progress anymore. Some of it I've abandoned, and some of it I've changed my mind on doing. So, but it'll kind of help me keep track of everything I've got going on, as well as everything that I would like to get done in the future. And hopefully that'll kind of keep me from having too many works in progresses going on, because that is a thing that I am very guilty of. I think currently I have about 5, maybe 6 works in progresses. 7. And then the reason that is happening is because I either got stuck on something, I don't have the materials I need for something, or I just lost interest in something. And I'm hoping that that interest will show up again. But in the meantime, I think getting my thoughts down on paper will help me just kind of remember what I've got going on. And this, I think, is how I'm going to go through that process. Okay, so now that this project is done, well, almost. Okay, the pants are like right there, and they're waiting for a couple facings and a button, and then a buttonhole, and then they're done. But I figured now would be a good time to go through our bin of fun patterns and find out what I want to work on next. This is a project that I already have fabric for, I already have plans for. It is this really cute little dress by Advance. Yeah, just a little sundress, and it's so cute. And I do want to make the bolero to go with it as well, but I think view 1 will be what I do. So that might be next, if I don't find something better. I have this pattern by Advance, which is very cute, and I want to find the coordinating jacket, which is pattern 6952. I will be stalking eBay later, because this is very cute, but I'll have to figure out what kind of fabric I want to do. It has this really funky eye pattern on that view, which I think is really cool and very period correct. Naturally, because obviously this was printed back then. I do have these, which I just picked up today. Where is it? These. This one, which is precisely my size, which I thought would be a good bodice block, even though the blouse itself is kind of plain. I don't really go for the cutesy other variation, so I'd probably just stick with this. I have this one by McCall's, which again, I am not a huge fan of the collars. They're okay. I really liked the stripe variation, but I'll probably end up making that one. But I feel like this is a project I could do in a day, and this is a project I could do in a day, and I think I need something that'll work my brain a little bit more. I have this teenage fashion in a size 16, which is close enough to my size. It's very cute, so maybe. Let's go in the maybe pile. This is 80s, 90s, I don't know. Looks like 90s pattern. It's too big, but I did make a shirt out of this once before, and I really like the shirt, even though the collar needs some adjusting. I think it was the interfacing I used, so this might be made up out of Star Wars fabric later, so not immediately. This one is going to be a very long haul project. I bought this from Angela Clayton's Etsy. It's an embroidery pattern with a very pretty blouse, a button up in the back blouse, which I absolutely adore. So, but I haven't quite decided what fabric I want to actually embroider that pattern onto. So this will be done later. In my bin, I've already made up this one. It's right there. But now I'm thinking I need to make version 1, the blue one, out of the Empire fabric that they still have at Joann's, because my yellow one over there is actually the Rebel Alliance. So I might do that, but again, that'll be later because I don't have the fabric and I can't really justify buying more fabric. So, okay, so I figured the best way to do this would be to write up a project description and like the corresponding pattern or the corresponding fabric, and just create a little project box to keep track of the million things that I apparently want to do. I do have a whiteboard that's kind of full of that stuff, but also, I don't know, it doesn't really work for me, I guess. So I think I'll start with a small win first and do one that I know I'm going to be that I know exactly what I need. So this will be for an Star Wars Empire 50s dress. So this pattern number is Simplicity 3182, version 1. Supplies, fabric. The fabric is green, and I know I need, what, for version, that one, I'll need probably a belt would be nice, because I wish I had a belt for the other one. 4 buttons, and a zipper. Alterations, I don't recall. I think on my Star Wars version I did a 3/4 circle skirt instead of the gourd skirts, and then I think I did make some bust adjustments too, but I don't remember what they were naturally. So, and then this would be where I would just watch if I had one, but I don't, because I don't have the projects. The fabric. Okay, so for this one will be the natural form Hufflepuff. It doesn't really give a description of the pattern, but we do know the natural form period was the late 1870s to the very early 1880s. So I would need, so that would be 1, and then part 2 of that would be in 1870s to 1880s corset. And then I should do a petticoat at the very least. I do have a chemise. I do not have like a chemise and drawers, just the chemise, so probably that as well. But for now, we're just gonna go with those 3 things. So this will be pattern number 8189. And then 8191. Because I'm not going to go exactly off the pattern, mostly because I'm not the biggest fan of that skirt. It's very similar to what I want to do, but I think the skirt I want to do almost has like these pleats that are ironed into place rather than, it's tiered rather than gathered a little bit less tightly, gathered again. So, but the bodice is almost quite where I would like it to be. So this will kind of give me an idea of how to construct it. I also have a book coming that will kind of go into a little bit more detail on that as well. Okay, I'm trying very hard not to get distracted by Clone Wars content because that is all my Pinterest feeds me. But I do have a few pins in my historical dress pin board on the Pinterest. And for the natural form Hufflepuff gown, I know what I want to do, and I know I do need to get an 1870s natural form era corset. Good news, I finished a mock-up on that. But basically, what I did was I pulled out my book by, oops, not that, by Mandy Barrington's Corsets and Crinoline, or Stays and Corsets. Corsets and Crinolines is by Norwell. This is by Mandy Barrington. But basically, it teaches you how to draft your own. And then I saw this one. It's so gloriously in the Hufflepuff colors, so I might just make it up as you see. But I'll do cuter lace because I don't like that. Interestingly, this has 4 notches on the bust. Mine has like 6, but anyway. And you know, and I was thinking when I was doing the mock-up is I would have to reinforce those points. I do have to reinforce those points. But, okay, anyway, back to what we're saying. I went ahead and used this book to make up my own draft of that one. So that is good to go and ready to go. And because it is, the book walks you through how to actually draft it to your measurements, I don't actually need to make any alterations to it. So that is on its way. I did say I was going to make it up as is 2 seconds ago, but then I realized I have this adorable bee fabric. So I'm going to interface it with some twill, flatline it with some twill, so the cotton canvas will stretch quite a bit. And the twill, I know I should use couture, but I'm not going to. We've been over that. The twill will help reinforce it. And then I have these gold eyelets. Grommets are stronger than eyelets. I have eyelets. I'm using eyelets. And that's what I'm going to be making that up out of. So this is ready to go. The chemise dress was what I was getting after earlier, where I thought I might use this Angela Clayton pattern. Although this same book does have, I think, a pattern that I could draft to fit me, I think. This is a wasp waist. I love that, but I need a spoon bust, which I don't have. Oh no, this only goes through 1890. Okay, I might have to get her second book, but I do have a pattern with Norwell that I could draft, maybe, probably. I will see if I can figure that out. If I can't figure it out, then I'll probably just use Angela's pattern and make up that little chemise to go with it, to go underneath a 19 teens chemise dress. So this, I think, is something that I will end up doing. Much like our Hufflepuff, I will go ahead and notate that we need a 19 teens corset and a 19 teens chemise. I have one for the awarding period, but it was more of like a pleasure project than an actual functional garment. So I'm probably going to redo that. You will know the one I'm talking about if you've watched any of my other videos. So for the chemise dress, I've got 2 options. I have this beautiful green fabric, which is the prettiest fabric. I love it so much. So I'm kind of torn, like, between doing something historical with it or doing something modern with it, so I could actually wear it very often, all the time. It has this very loose weave. You could really see through it. And it's got like this satin weave striping going on. It is so pretty. I got this at an antique store. It's 3 1/8 yards, which I'm not entirely sure is enough for a chemise dress, so that might not happen. This is another option. I got it at the same antique store. It's Chimoon's in Galveston. And this is like all of your frozen dreams come true. It has this weave to it that really reminds me of Elsa, even though this would not be Disney princess inspired. Well, the intention isn't there, but it might end up being Disney inspired. This does have some staining on it. I think it's kind of tucked within the folds right now, but there's this large pink stain that did not come out in the wash. But it's still very pretty. I have 5 1/4 yards of this, so that's probably enough for a chemise dress, which means I might take this route and do, I guess, an Elsa inspired chemise dress. We'll see. This, I have a book coming from Amazon. I forgot what it's called, but it's on its way, and hopefully that will help me be able to pattern out a chemise dress for that. So next on my little list here was, I mentioned that I had this pattern by a Simplicity and American Duchess for a robe ball francais. And originally I bought this pattern because this is one of the first historical patterns that I've purchased. I haven't made this dress because it takes up so much fabric. I think it's like 10 yards or something stupid. What I'm trying to decide is, okay, well, let me walk you through this. This channel, obviously, Arno Dorian is one of my absolute favorite game characters ever. Most of the assassins are, but I don't know, Arno has a special place in my heart, I guess. But it was around the same time I was playing that game that I got into historical fashion, so the 18th century is really kind of what first caught my attention. And originally my plan was to do a Française inspired by Arno Dorian, so it would be his colors with more of the tailoring that you see on his jackets and such. So the body of the dress would be blue. You would have some white detailing, I think, along the bust. Anyway, it'd be red, white, and blue, with the body of the dress being blue and then red and white accents, because Arno wears red, white, and blue. But upon further research and looking into the period, I discovered that I much prefer robe anglaise. I think it's a way prettier dress. There is an extant at the Met. Okay. So we're going to save to historical dress, and nope, save to historical dress. Okay, so now it's actually in my board. So this green number here, it is very simple in comparison to most 18th century stuff. I think this is, I just like the simplicity of how empty that is, and then it's really all about the green fabric, this dress. But what I really like about it is the pleating in the back that you see on a Francais, or on an Anglaise, that you don't usually see on a Francais because it's covered by the Watteau pleats. This same pleating is very, very indicative of the 18th century, and it is actually somewhat, kind of, a little bit on Arno's coat, which is why I wanted to make that dress. So I might actually make this dress twice because I love it so much. We'll see. But the plan is to get a blue taffeta or jacquard. I have this white jacquard that I showed earlier. I might use it for Arno, or I might use it to make up that green one just like it, so we'll see. I also had a thought, or an idea, to do a more historically accurate Elise from the game, and I was able to find these paintings and a chalk drawing of these ladies here, which looks a little bit more like Elise's style. It's very red and black and gold and white, which is very much the Templar colors, and I think it would have been more appropriate for Elise than what they did, because her dress is very much, I think I actually found it and I dated it and it was completely wrong. It was like a whole 60 years later or something, the painting that they had used. But anyway, for Arno's Anglaise, I'm going to go ahead and keep that in the running with the idea of maybe using this jacquard for it. So again, I have a book coming. I know I'm going to need the fabric, and I think probably 10 yards would do. Yeah. And then lastly, in my little book here is, there is a Worth gown that exists. It's from the 19 teens, which is more justification for that, basically. I think it's from the 19 teens. I need to find it again. It's being held in Florence. What is that museum called? Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Okay, that took a long time, but I just found it, and I'm going to move this camera angle so you can see. Basically on the Dreamstress's website, and I'm just gonna scroll down, and this one here, this one is a Worth gown from the 1880s. It is the natural form period, and it's probably my favorite. It's one of the more underrated dresses, and it's currently being held in the Palazzo Pitti. I don't think I will find that kind of trim anywhere. We will see. This is going to be a very long-term project, but that's the Worth gown that I am hoping to eventually one day make. Okay, hello. It is like a week later, and my book did not in fact come in a week later. It came in like a few days later from the last clip, but I'm just now getting to this because, you know, full-time job and such. But this book is really great because I think it'll come in handy for a few of the projects that I have in mind. Like I mentioned, I wanted to do a robe anglaise for Arno, and they have an anglaise here in the book. However, I saw this mantua and I really like it a lot more, so I'll probably end up doing the mantua for Arno. And then there was also this very pretty jacket that went along with it, so I'll probably do that. This book is great because it's full of cutting diagrams and research that Nora Woe conducted on extant garments in museum collections, and she kind of breaks down what was the fashionable silhouettes in bodices, jackets, skirts, gowns, and then the materials and kind of decorations they used. And it also features photographs of portraiture or extant garments from the museum collections that she did study. And then she went through and patterned these gowns, which is why we have cutting diagrams. They also feature tailors and dressmakers patterns from the periods, and this covers everything from 1600? Yeah, 1600 to 1930. So we have the mantua gown, the English gown, and then I also mentioned how I wanted to do a natural form era Hufflepuff. It's got some fashion plates in here that you could reference. And then there are two 1870s dresses. This one is they call it an afternoon dress, and I suppose it could be. I think this is center front closing faking me out, but yes, they do have the cutting diagram for a natural form dress with a lot of drapery, and then they also have one that's more of a suited walking suit almost. Those might come in handy. I think this one in particular with all that drapery for helping me figure out how to do the Worth gown, because that one's going to be a trick to pattern, and I don't think this will be very helpful, but it might be a little, so we'll see. Particularly this little bit that drapes around the skirt. And then also I was hoping this would have a pattern for a 19 teens dress, and I believe it did, for that chemise dress that I really would like to make. And there is this evening dress held in London, which I think is kind of what I was envisioning. So, but yes, this book is, I think, going to be a great resource, and I'm very excited to have it for future project planning. So, okay, and I think honestly that's going to be it for this video. It just kind of went through a few projects that I have been planning on doing and kind of really ironing out some details about them and kind of getting my thoughts together on how I want to go about researching how to do them, getting the materials I need to construct them, and you know, just really creating a good solid plan as opposed to an arbitrary idea that I have of this thing that I would like to do. One project that I didn't mention in the video was Kenobi, because I'm going to be making up some Jedi ropes. In fact, right behind the camera, they are currently in a pile pinned together, ready for a lot of hand sewing, which I may or may not do tonight. We'll see. And then there's also some boiled wool in a basket over there that needs to be dyed the correct color. So yes, that was probably the one thing that I'm missing in this video, is just the project planning I did for that. But that was more of just a cost to me for fun project, because clearly Star Wars is occupying a lot of my time and attention this year. So yeah, I think that about covers it. So if you even made it this long, thank you. I didn't think anybody would be interested in me rambling on for like half an hour about making things, potentially making things, planning to make things, I suppose. So if you're still here, thanks. And if you want to see any of these projects come together, do subscribe, hit the like button, that kind of stuff, for when I eventually make those and post them.